to the end of the afternoon session of Day 8 of the Undercover Policing Inquiry, Tranche 2, Phase 1. I'm joined with Zoe Young and Chris Ryan. Chris from the Undercover Research Group. Zoe's from Campaign Opposing Police Surveillance. What were your thoughts on today's session?
Oh, it's my first time coming to this. It's kind of amazing to see it in the real.
Right.
Got used to these characters on Zoom, and there they all are, standing up, sitting down, projecting things in all directions, and just trying to stay up with what's going on. And yeah, I'll have some more intelligent thoughts in a minute.
What were your thoughts then, Chris?
Yeah, so I only arrived after lunch. One of the things, not necessarily commenting on the evidence that we've heard today, is that one of the big differences between this set of hearings and the previous ones is that the documents that they refer to have not been published and won't be for some time. And for me, because I'm very much a document person, and it does really hinder your understanding of what's going on, because they're on the screen for a bit. You don't really have time to read them. And we don't even know exactly when they're going to get published, if it's going to be between the end of this mini set of hearings and the next, or we're going to have to wait all the way to the end of tranche 2. And that's important because what we see is an edited version of those documents. So it's like the inquiry's take on them, rather than we don't get to examine them ourselves in the rounds.
It is very frustrating. I mean, for those of you who did follow tranche 1, it would literally be at the start of the hearing. You would go on the hearing page on the website, and there would be the links to all the PDF files, the video files, whatever else. That isn't the case this time. And unlike Chris, I'm not a documents person, and I'm not going to do anything like that. But occasionally you want to refer back, and you're just literally not able to, which does make it very difficult, particularly when researching for doing a podcast episode, for example, which we hopefully will have some more of this week. But yeah, just specifically on this afternoon's evidence, it was a further questions for Kate Hudson from Campaign Nuclear Disarmament. It referred largely to the evidence of HN65, cover name John Kerry, HN88, cover name Tim Spence, but also some from HN67, cover name Alan Bond. We were taken through, this constant thing, which we talked about this morning out on the reaction video, that there was so much reporting by, particularly by HN65, that was of stuff that was already in the public domain. There's a bit where he submitted the full minutes of a national conference, but as Kate Hudson pointed out, this would have been published and widely disseminated by CND themselves. And he didn't seem to add anything that wasn't already publicly available in that report. And lots of his other reports the same. Much like some of the other undercover officers we heard from, he in his reports included personal remarks, derogatory statements about people he was spying on, references to the race, sexuality, sexual habits of those he was spying on. Nothing particularly new really in terms of bad behaviour that we haven't seen from any other undercover officer, but just more of a fuller picture of that. Do you have any thoughts on any of that, Zoe?
Yeah, it did seem surprising that they would go to these open meetings to report open minutes. And just conversations about people having been removed from CND for aggressive tendencies, but then also sort of saying, oh look, but you're planning non-violent direct action, and doesn't that mean you're a threat to the state and something? And it's like, well, hang on, but this is a peace movement that is removing people who are showing aggression, and then you don't seem to have the beginning of an understanding of what non-violent direct action is about and why and how it's used within progressive movements throughout history. But in that context, I suppose then I'm thinking, well, okay, this isn't a trial. CND is definitely not on trial. And maybe this is the only way to get into the evidence base, just some of that information about what NVDA is and what the strategies of groups like CND is and how they do deal with people who are being aggressive in meetings or whatever.
When it comes to the point about not really understanding how CND operated or who they were, and we saw that I think most clearly when one of the reports referred it to outsiders, and then went on to list Walter Wolfgang, Pat Arrowhead, and I forget the other names, people who were really key parts of the undercover of CND. Any thoughts on that, Chris?
Yeah, it seems strange that there is that misunderstanding given the coverage, because we know very much that from both it's documented in the MI5's official history and also from the whistleblower Kathy Massiter that CND was of interest to MI5. So you would have thought not only we got have your undercovers in those meetings, but you have electronic surveillance and as well as civilian informers, willing or unwilling or unknowing or knowing or unknowing. So you just like massive coverage. I mean, obviously, there's a clear explanation for that CND, especially when the Labour Party adopted a unilateralism as policy, was clearly a threat to the status quo. I think that is the big picture explanation of all this.
And the mass membership, right? There's an organisation now of hundreds of thousands of people, which was kind of unprecedented for an organisation of that type in the time.
I mean, obviously, that was a lot of those members would have joined via the Labour Party as well, wouldn't they? So that's connected, isn't it? That the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, I mean, it is that thing that, sometimes we get a bit confused. Are the undercover cops being, like, stupid? Or are they, just so short of things to report on their deployments that they're including, like, information which is, like, either wrong or like, seems incredibly misinformed? We don't really know because it's hard to tell. We should find out more. A lot of the things we talked about today referred to HN65, cover name John Kerry. He will be being questioned tomorrow. The live evidence tomorrow probably will theoretically should illuminate a lot more of what his thoughts were and what he was thinking. We don't know what he's going to be like. It could well be that he takes the I don't remember, I couldn't say defence. It could be that he's a bit more forthcoming. We'll have to wait and see. Any more thoughts before we wrap up?
Yeah, just on that one. I mean, there is some suggestions seem to be made that some of the stuff they are releasing, which does make them look a bit daft or just referring to sex lives and things that are so irrelevant, is kind of to distract from the fact of what they're not releasing. And we don't know how much has not yet been released because we haven't had the full disclosure. And so it comes back to we need the whole files.
We know what we know, but we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah, sorry.
That's it, really.
Okay, well, we'll do a Twitter Spaces this evening, just sort of running through what was said today. It'll probably be fairly short. As today's been fairly short, we're wrapping up slightly earlier than we have been most other days. We're back again tomorrow, 10 a.m. with HN65, cover name John Kerry. Should be interesting. Please join us. Anything else?
Before we go, yes, you just explained why we had that. We all kind of went off for a bit and then came back for nothing to happen. And so for those of us who are new to it, that was quite confusing.
Oh, right.
So you explained that quite well.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like, after any witness is questioned by the Counsel for the Inquiry, there is a 15-minute break, in which time the other lawyers who are present are able to put forward questions that should be asked of them. There was none for Kate Hudson today. It's pretty common for civilian witnesses not to get any further questions or just to get some clarification questions. It tends to be that former undercover police officers get a bit more, though not always. This is something which was pushed quite hard for by the non-state, non-police core participants,
That's
lawyers.
That's our lawyers.
Because it gives the opportunity for there to be some further questioning from anybody other than the Counsel for the Inquiry themselves. All right, cheers, guys. See you again tomorrow.
Cheers, Tom.